want us to proceed. Because it must be on the basis of technicalities, audibility, and things like that. If you're going to allow them to ask questions, we're going to ask questions. Don't do that. We agreed each member is going to get 30 minutes tomorrow. And if they ask questions now and tomorrow they ask questions on their 30 minutes, they've got 35 minutes. Are you going to afford me that? Please don't do that. The last question Honorable Sangoni raised, it's a proper question. It's a clarity, it's a procedural matter that, okay, now that this thing is not in the statement, what do we do with it? And the senior counsel clarified it. And that I accept that. What the general is being asked about is his relationship with Nkabinde, which is covered in the annexure from Madlang. He spoke about Nkabinde in Madlang. So remember, we've got this main statement, we've got annexures, and we can ask questions based on all of those annexures that are here, if you have gone through them. There's nothing irrelevant about that. But to ask the questions of why do you go to a minister? Is that a procedure to go to ministers? No, it's not clarity. It's not dealing with any technicality. It's a question that can be asked tomorrow in your 30 minutes. And if you're going to proceed like that, then they're going to get more time than all of us. And what do we do tomorrow? So it's unfair, Chair. Let the questions be on procedural issues, on technical issues. That's what we agreed on. Not anyone wanting to take advantage and we have more time at our expense. Thanks.
Okay. Can we agree that the questions will be answered tomorrow? Yes.
Chair will agree for the sake of peace, but you allowed questions from MK. But in order for us to proceed, we will stand down and agree. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah. Let's agree that those questions will be answered tomorrow. Can we? Okay. Honorable Nomvalo.
Chair, we just need clarity so that we will be clear as we move forward. Remember that asking question was on the basis of the proposal that was made by the Chief Whip of the ANC. That members can only be allowed to ask questions on issues arising from the questions asked by the evidence leader to the witness, not new questions, but on areas where we have not been clear in terms of the responses that have been given. And asking questions emanated from that. We're not asking new questions, but we wanted to be clear for our records so that when we make records, we make proper records from the correct understanding of what has been a response. So if there's a deviation from that, Chairperson, just say members will no longer be allowed to ask questions because it is a position of this meeting. And that position was motivated by the Chief Whip of the ANC.
Let me say this. I agree with the questions that you raised, Honorable Nomvalo. There is nothing wrong with that. I agree with the last part of the questions that Honorable Sankoni has raised. And her two questions that she raised first will be answered tomorrow. That's what we are saying. Is it very clear?
Can I come in, Chair? Now the question, Chair, is should we ask questions going forward emanating from a misunderstanding of what has been?
You wanted to clarify certain matters regarding the relationship that Mr. Nkabinde had with Minister Mkhwanazi. And the questions that you raised were not new questions. They were based on questions that were raised by the senior counsel. And that is why I say I agree with those questions. That is why I even came back to you to check if you were satisfied with the answers that were given. So it means if you may have questions later, you can still ask those clarity-seeking questions. Like Honorable Sangone had asked a question about procedural matters, which the senior counsel has clarified because it's a matter of procedure. But there are other two questions that she raised, which may be on the borderline. And that is why I agree with her when she says, for the sake of peace, let's continue. And I give a ruling because I don't want us to discuss the merits and the demerits of the questions. Where I stand, they are on the borderline. It may be very difficult if we may end up being polemical about them. So those questions are noted. They will be answered tomorrow. Is that fine, honorable members? Senior counsel?
Thank you.
May we please proceed?
Thank you, Honorable Chair, honorable members. General Mkhwanazi, I was moving to the Minister's Directive of 31 December 2024. It is NSM 5, which is on page 78 and 79. General Mkhwanazi, we can take it as read.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and honourable chair and honourable members, this has been in the part of the bundle. So to save time, I'm not going to read it, and I'm not going to ask the witness. I just want to deal with your leave with the issues that arise from this letter. There are three: the freezing of posts in crime intelligence, the directive relating to the port of entry, and 3, the disbandment of PKTT. Any comment on why these 3 issues were packaged in this way?
Yeah, well, I'm not an author. The minister is the one who signed this. If I were to express my feeling about it, it was just strange that such strategic and very critical issues of the organization, never mind the fact that they're operational, but they're very critical, that a minister felt that it is important to send this communication in the form of a letter in this version, literally 2 days after the National Commissioner started his leave. And exactly almost 3 or 4 days after he parted ways with the National Commissioner, where he was with him in person in the funeral, and he never spoke about these things. So for such serious things to just be at that time of the year, be written like this, it makes one to ask questions as to why. I guess, is that why question that led us here today?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm asking you why would 3 such key issues that seems to, your comment, that seems to fit into this narrative of organized crime, intelligence, borders, for example, drugs and illicit goods move across the borders, and of course the disbandment of the PKTT, which is going to be the focus of our attention. But just your comment, did this also raise suspicions on your part?
Yeah, when I saw it, immediately I said, but this is very strange. I just don't understand. I'm with the minister on a Saturday, together with the National Commissioner, and we part ways, and they all say happy New Year to all of them. And on the second, then the letter comes through. And it's a letter that talks about decisions that have got serious consequences in the organization. Stop filling vacancies now. When did it become so urgent that you couldn't talk to the accounting officer when you were with him a few days back? Now, of course, when we started asking questions, because these, at the time, one did not know why these specific 3 areas. But as the time progresses, then we got to understand why. And it is that understanding of the why that ended up leading us into trying to intervene in the manner that we did.
Okay. Now, you deal with it, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, you deal with this decision from pages 810 through to 17, paragraphs 14 to 30. I'm not going to ask you to read through it. I'm going to ask you some pointed questions that arise from it. Sorry. Is it correct that the minister had not received a single briefing from those in charge of the PKTT prior to the 31st of December, and in particular yourself and Lieutenant General Khumalo?
Yeah, well, I know now after engaging both General Khumalo and the National Commissioner that they didn't brief him, but from my side, I knew that I had not briefed him to date.
And between July 2024, when Minister Nkunu was appointed by the President as Minister of Police, and 31 December 2024, there hadn't been any of this interministerial committee meetings that you had earlier described and referred to?
No, definitely, there were no such meetings.
You also saw the minister on the 28th of December 2024. What was that occasion? And at that occasion was Mr. Nkabinde, Chief of Staff Nkabinde, with him?
Honorable Chair and members, I cannot remember whether Mr. Nkabinde was there, but I do remember that the minister in our last meeting that we had with him in December, he was a functionary at the funeral of a police officer that died at Escaleni in KZN. And the Minister of Police was a functionary in that official funeral that was held there. So I was with him there. I do not know much about Nkabinde. I cannot remember.
So we're going to talk about when you learned about this directive, because as you can see, it's addressed to the National Commissioner, General Masamolo, and let me see if it's copied to anyone else. No, it's just addressed to him. So you weren't aware of this letter. We'll get to when you... but since you learned of this letter subsequent to the 31st of December, were you disappointed that he never raised this issue at all with you on the 28th of December when you saw him at the funeral?
Yeah, Honorable Chair and members, as the SC indicates that on my statement, I indicate I speak a lot, I write a lot about the events of the 2nd of January 2025 when I first became aware of this letter. My initial response from the time I saw the letter was just shocked and surprised that how can MISA write such a serious letter that is going to have so much implications in the organization, and more concern is that I had already met the minister, and I wouldn't want the executive authority to do things that is against the law. And so I have a responsibility to bring to his attention. But at the time, I felt it is important to use a shortcut because I got to meet the minister before he became the Minister of Police through Mr. Nkabinde. I know Mr. Nkabinde is the office of the minister. He had asked me what Chiefs of Staff does. So upon seeing this letter, he was the first person I called, because I believe that there cannot be any document going to the minister for signature without his knowledge. So I called him. I said, Nkabinde, the minister signed a letter that says the following. Are you aware of this letter? And his response was, yes, I am aware of the letter. But according to him, the letter was going back and forth by whoever between the minister, whoever was drafting the letter and the minister. That made me believe that the minister is not the author. Someone else prepared this letter for the minister, and the minister signed it. Because Nkabinde's response to me was, after the letter was signed, after it going back and forth, then he was pressured to make sure this letter is delivered at the Office of the National Commission on the 31st. So, and hence the letter was delivered. So this was from his words that made me believe that there's someone somewhere who influences the minister to do this. I think they will give in the minister wrong advice. I wanted to correct that. That's why I felt it's important for me to plead with Mr. Nkabinde that, can you, Mr. Nkabinde, if you are coming down to KZN, you must arrange a meeting between myself, you, and the minister so we can sit down and talk about the implications of this. Because if the minister will have a letter like this that says you are disestablishing a team, there's consequences that's going to come as a result. And one of the consequences is that the minister might be seen to be defeating the ends of justice, because you're literally saying that the investigations that are currently underway must stop immediately. And that is going to have serious consequences of the minister. So I wouldn't want the minister to get to this, because I saw a risk that the minister is going to be held liable for this decision. So I wanted to address it with the minister and give him advice, using Nkabinde as a person that I know is close to the minister, and I got to see the minister for the first time through him. But unfortunately, it did not happen.
So just to summarize, is it Nkabinde who told you that the minister was in fact not the author of this letter? Is it Nkabinde who told you that there was seemingly an exchange of drafts going back and forth before the letter was finalized? Is it that caused you to conclude that there was third-party involvement, whether it's one or more persons, we don't know, and also that made you conclude that this is not the minister's handwork, it's a third party involved?
Yeah, well, it was his words when he said this letter has been going back and forth, but he did not say who is the author. When he said it's been going back and forth, being corrected, and after that, he was pressured to make sure the letter is submitted. From there, I concluded that someone else was behind this letter. And Nkabinde had to facilitate it to send it to the minister for signature.
Sorry, Honorable Chair, may my colleague be excused? We've got a 6 o'clock scheduled.
Thank you so much, Senior Counsel. You can
Thank you, Chair, and honorable members for the indulgence. You must have been shocked at this revelation by your good friend, Mr. Nkabinde. Given the importance of these matters, all three matters, border control, crime intelligence is huge. We know it's been at the heart of a lot of issues in our country for a number of years. These are all important, critical issues. Now you hear there's been a back and forth. The minister may not have drafted the letter himself. You suspect third-party involvement?
Yeah, no, it was indeed a concern, but I must say, Honorable Chair and members, on the day when I became aware of this, I couldn't blame Nkabinde on anything, because to me, he was honest to tell me that the letter was going back and forth, being corrected, and he was pressured to make sure that it's delivered at the Office of the National Commissioner. So I like to believe that, giving him a benefit of doubt, that on the day when this letter was drafted and subsequent to it being forwarded to the Office of the National Commissioner, he perhaps had no role to play with regard to the content of the letter, except to do the administration processes of it. The problem then came on the following day. When the following day, this letter, or the content of my engagement with him, appeared in the social media somewhere, that I threatened the Minister of Police with arrest and so forth, because I had said that if this is going to be implemented like this, the minister will be accused of crime, and that might end up bad towards the minister. So let's fix this. That was the exact same day when this letter was leaked. So unfortunately, the following day after talking to Mr. Nkabinde, the conversation between me and him was twisted somehow in the social media, but it landed in the social media. So then we had a conversation the following day where he said to me, he believes his phone was somehow been tapped by someone was listening to our conversation and so forth. He did not share the conversation with anyone. So that's when I started asking myself questions about Nkabinde himself. Because I'm engaging with him a day before, and the following day, our conversation is on social media. It made me realize that perhaps he's the one that leaked it. Honorable Chair and members, I then am not going to talk much about what I became aware of most recently, that indeed Nkabinde was instructed to record me at the time. Instructed to record the conversation between me and him. So it means when I was talking to him, I was recording, and he would have shared that recording to someone. That's why that recording ended up in the social media the following day. But it was no mistake.
Can we just clarify this? You don't have copies of what was on social media?
No, I don't have it with me, but I can try and trace it. But there were a lot of, at the time, there were a lot of communication that was out there on the social media. But I can try and see if I can recite. But I don't have anything with me here.
Yeah, because what I think we would also like to know is whether what appeared on social media, is it actually exactly the same as what was recorded in your conversation with him allegedly?
I can tell you, not all of it, but by and large, the conversation between me and him was there in the social media communication.
And forgive me if I'm offside, just tell me or ignore the question. But did I also understand that there's an allegation that you, when you spoke to Nkabinde, you had threatened the minister?
I was warning Nkabinde that if this letter, with its content the way it is not withdrawn, and the work of the police in terms of investigation come to a halt as is directed by this letter, this is going to have consequences towards the minister. Because the minister has got no jurisdiction in stopping a criminal investigation that is running. So this letter is literally saying that this team must stop with immediate effect. I'm not quoting verbatim, but it is basically, the task team be disestablished immediately. Those are the words. So if you are saying that, you are saying, if the case is in court, stop working. If the case and investigation stop working, just stop everything at once. That's the consequences this letter has. So I was warning Nkabinde that you better make sure that you, and the minister sit and talk about this. Because I don't know what is the circumstances that led into me signing it, but the implication of the letter will land the minister in trouble. So it was there that the following day, which appeared in social media as if I threatened the minister when I was communicating with Mr. Nkabinde.
So did you see either the whole or part of your discussion on social media yourself, or was this reported to you by someone that what is this that appeared on social media, and you then saw it?
Yeah, well, I saw the communication. I cannot remember how it came to me, but I saw that communication of what was out there, that was spread.
So did you speak to Nkabinde either on the 3rd after this appeared on social media or afterwards?
Yeah, we've been talking. Afterwards, we've been talking up until most recently. I think after my press briefing, then we pass each other now. We don't talk to each other.
But what has come from your discussions or talks with him? He appears certainly, with respect from what you're telling this honourable committee and us, that he seems to be a central figure in all of this.
In all of what?
Well, the letter, and you say that he knew there was a toing and froing of the letter. He also told you that he was pressured into getting the letter out on the 31st of December, is on New Year's Eve, which in itself sounds, I don't think one needs evidence on this. It sounds really odd that on New Year's Eve, such an important document is released. So I'm asking about his central role in this, his appointment as Chief of Staff, when according to you, he's not even qualified for this role, doesn't have the qualifications. I must confess, I don't know what the qualifications might be, but I suppose we can look that up on the public service regulations, what it entails. But it sounds to me that he wasn't quite qualified for the job. So that's why I'm asking you to comment on that proposition, that he seems to be quite a key figure in all of this.
Honourable Chair and honourable members, it sometimes can be dangerous to express your opinion about something that you don't have facts on. Since the S is asking me my impression I have is that Mr. Nkabinde was recruited or was appointed by the Minister Chief of Staff, and he had no clue about what Chief of Staff does. So he had to adjust in the office. He had to learn as he was going. That's why I know that the other former Chief of Staff at the office of the Minister can come here and testify that he also phoned him and seek advice as to what does Chief of Staff do. And he also had to coach him about what Chief of Staffs are doing. And so he had to adjust as you learn as he was going. And I think that's why even he started learning politics, because he was never a politician. So I see him today with T-shirts of political parties, which I don't think he even understands what it takes to be a politician. So he adjusted as he was going along to please his boss.
Learning on the job.
Yeah.
Okay. But what I'm curious about, and what I think many of us here would be curious about, is you continue to engage with Nkabinde, despite clear shortcomings that he has in that post, despite the critical role he plays in that post. A Chief of Staff presumably is very close to, that's why you appoint someone Chief of Staff.
Honourable Chair and all members, these things are happening. The letter comes out, I speak to Chief of Staff, and after that he said he tried to secure a meeting with the Minister, is not able to, and next thing he says to me, no, he did not release the information that I was talking to him about. Perhaps someone tapped his phone or something like that. So I had no reason not to believe what he was telling me. So all the time, even when we meet in meetings, because the person I know, so we'll engage. As the time went by in this first 6 months of the year, I started gaining more information about his role that he plays in some of the meetings, how vocal he becomes in some of the meetings, and which was strange to me, but he's got no role there. How does he become this vocal? So slowly then I started monitoring his social media and then WhatsApp status. Then I started realizing he's no longer the man that I knew he was, because, as I say, he's now a politician. He talks about politics and he displays T-shirts of political parties, rallies and all those things, which is now away from what the Chief of Staff is supposed to do. And that's when I started realizing that maybe is what I'm hearing about his involvement, about interfering with police work, might be true as the time progresses. until such time that eventually we started picking up other evidence. I think when I went public on the 6th of July, the lines were thrown between me and him. So we never really engaged after that.
I think you've answered the question that initially you were reluctant to answer. You don't want to express an opinion on Nkabinde.
No, I said it's sometimes it's wrong to express an opinion without facts. But since you asked me the question, and I felt maybe I can express opinion because this is my observation. So I'm qualifying it like that, and it's my observation. But I'm sure those from the political party that he markets the lot, they might want to go and check when did he join them and when did he become a member for him to be that active.
So is there any? There are interactions between him, you and him after the 3rd of January, leading up to the 6th of July.
We've been talking together up until the press briefing happened. We've been talking. We stopped communicating after the press briefing.
Well, did he say anything further about the letter? Did he say anything further about any of the 3 aspects in the letter, especially the disestablishment? I think that's the word that was used, the disestablishment of the PTKT. Did he say anything about it?
Honorable Chair members, there's been a lot of engagement between me and him in between. There would be conferences, summits, there and there, meetings, BOC. So we come across. There will be gatherings, the minister is there, he comes with, he's part of the staff, so we talk. That's why you'll see later when I talk about on my statement about the Mr. Mogotsi that phoned me in October last year. I phoned Nkabinde to ask Nkabinde, so he told me about who Mogotsi was. I didn't know Mogotsi, it's him that told me about Mogotsi. So there's been a lot of conversation between me and him. And the last, I think, heart-to-heart talk we had with him, we had at Beachwood Hotel in Johannesburg, and he accompanied me into the car. When they were, I think the tensions were growing already in terms of after this letter, as the team was trying to figure out and the team working out and what they were picking up. And I had an engagement with him there when he said, hey, I don't know anything about what's happening. And I said to him, boss, truth always comes out. So whatever that is happening right now, it's going to come out. So you better be on the right side of the law. I hope you're not going to get caught on the wrong side. That was my conversation with him in Beachwood Hotel. So that was a heart-to-heart talk. Other than that, we'll just meet and greet, hey, how's it? We just talk on the G. And we end there.
And you mentioned that did he appear to know Mogotsi well?
No. That time when I phoned him about a person who had contacted me as Bran Mogotsi, he's the one who told me that, no, he's a person who's very close with the minister. But he said he's not working for the department. He's not employed in the ministry. But he's close to the minister.
So he's the person who told you that Mogotsi is very close. Is that very close to
that was his word. But that's why I even asked him to give me the Mogotsi's number, and he sent me the Mogotsi's number to confirm that it's the same person who told